Yo, what's up guys, it's your boy Shieldcoomer aka Sirigath, and today we are going to be covering a lovely dungeon called the Brackenhide Hollow on a Keystone level 20 with Affixes Tyrannical, Storming, Raging. So this was first week obviously, so the gear is a little bit lackluster. At the moment of recording this, there will be a link in the description where you can check like my current gear and stuff, but to make it a little bit simpler for you guys, I've had like the old 4-piece at the moment. So season 1 gear, basically. I had like a pretty good season 1 gear. So that was pretty much it. Of course I had like some upgrades here and there from season 2. Nothing too fancy. I want to talk quite a bit about this dungeon because there's actually quite a lot to cover here. Brackenhide was obviously, a lot of people were traumatized absolutely by how this dungeon was tuned in the M0s, and then everybody just assumed that it's gonna be like the hardest dungeon ever. I do want to say that this dungeon is difficult, but I don't think it's as difficult as many have expected. This dungeon is very doable. There was a couple of things that were, in my opinion, a tiny bit overtuned, and I will cover them once we get there. Very high priority here in these packs is Earth Bolt's interrupts, especially overlaps between like this guy spinning and like Earthbolt into the plague, you know, these things can definitely kill you. So this is something you do want to be careful with. Also quite a bit of tank damage going on here as well. But yeah, this is the problem, like Withering Burst. And on top of that, you can get targeted by these guys, and it's a basically fixate by this vicious claw, whatever it's called. And then you have Rage Storm, which is this spinning guy, and there's Hideous Cackle. So basically you have to be coordinated for these trash packs. There's just no other way. And you can see how much damage it's doing just passively through the Earth Bolts and the King Surge and like Vicious Claw thingy. Just all of these things, they're hurting quite a bit. So very important that the group is like coordinated with CC and with interrupts. And as long as you have that, it's fine. As I said, as a healer here, I greeded for the Radiance cast. I guess lesson learned, don't do that. Yeah, that trap is a one-shot pretty much, and even though they reduced its damage, it's still a one-shot. And it also, I mean, you have plenty of time to move out of it. It's not an issue. Like the tuning isn't, it's no excuse to die there regardless. So yeah, pretty much just kind of chilling. Luckily the release is pretty quick and tank survived, so I guess it wasn't too bad. I mean, we lost out on a bit of my damage and maybe people had to like health pot or something, but besides that there's not much lost. Of course, ideally you don't die, and you just, yeah, I think I don't have to say that it's better not to die than it is to die, I guess. But yeah, this playstyle in the current season has honestly not changed too much from season 1. So I will, once again, I've said this on a couple of previous videos, I am making a pretty detailed, pretty like in-depth guide to cover everything there is to know about this priest. There's quite a bit of things to talk about, really. This is, in my opinion at least, one of the more complicated specs in the game, if not the most complicated healer spec at least. I have not played every single DPS spec in its newest version, so I won't be, you know, the judge of DPS or tanks, but I would say for healers, I have played every single healer, and I can confidently say that, in my opinion, this is by far the most complicated. It's also the least intuitive one, because the whole idea of healing through atonements is, it's just different, right? Like no other healer does that, and this is like the only healer that actually heals through atonements. It's such a cool design. Like this is, I have never seen this in any other game before. It reminds me of like some abilities that I've seen in some other RPGs, such as like some leech and stuff. But this is different. It's like such a cool concept with atonements. I'm really happy with how this plays. I really love this spec, and I really hope. I feel like Disc is always a victim of, like, because of the way it works, it's really hard to tune. So we're always a victim of, like, we're either good and then we feel too good, so they nerf us, or we're bad and we're just too bad and then we're useless. I feel like it's never middle ground, and I kind of hate it. Because when we're bad, we're really bad. I mean, a great example of it is like the current raid in this season. It seems that this was thought to, that a lot of people anticipated this to be really good, but I'm not sure what it is exactly. It's just that I think like all the other healers have like gotten so much by like moving forward, and we just haven't, and it's like we're just falling behind a little bit. It's not necessarily that Disc is bad, it's just that Disc is like way more complicated to play than most other specs in the raid, and it just kind of like makes it so that you don't really want to play Disc unless, you know, there's like great benefit to it, which there isn't right now because it's just not better than anyone else. So
Toxic trap.
why do it, right? And here I actually made a little mistake here, quite a bit. I didn't pull, luckily. I don't think I did. But I forgot that we actually don't need an extra cage because we did that one in the middle, because in the previous runs we tried, we didn't do that one, so it's kind of like automatically went there to try and get it to optimize the time. These packs are also dangerous, by the way. There's like a very scary overlap with the decaying, whatever it's called, plus earth bolts. They can absolutely destroy you. And here I somehow pulled. I have no idea how that pulls, but it did. And that was, as I said, my mess up. I mean, I forgot that we just don't need that cage. That was kind of a pega. Pretty bad play by me. But yeah, we also misclicked Bloodlust somehow. I remember this guy will say later that he misclicked Bloodlust, so we didn't actually have Bloodlust for the first boss. And guys, in week 1, first boss was an absolute menace to society. I am telling you guys, this boss is... It's really hard. It's really hard. It's... For Disc at least, maybe other healers have a better time with it. But we actually kind of really struggle with spot healing. And this boss requires you to kind of like spot heal multiple targets to an extent. So the whole point here is... He will do Gash Frenzy, right? I'm talking about the boss now. So let's talk about it when it happens, actually. I'll try to talk you through it as it's happening, if I can catch up. There's quite a bit to explain, to be honest. Luckily these packs are pretty chill, and we had also a little bit of luck that some abilities were going to the tank, which is... It sounds bad, but it's actually good, because, I mean, tank doesn't care and we do care, so... The rest of us would die to that. Fixate. So yeah, basically, there's 3 mobs, and each of them have, like, 2 major abilities. 3, technically, but yeah. So Trick Totem will constantly just be casting Earth Bolts, and that's very important to be interrupted. And then you see this, like... This dot, Gash Frenzy, you have to heal above 90% everyone that has it, so the blade drops. So there's multiple ways you can deal with it. You can either use an immunity, you can use some sort of invis to remove it, right, as it's jumping to you. It requires a really amazing reaction time though, so it's not very reliable. Or you can bring like a bleed dispeller, such as... Who dispels bleed nowadays? I don't even know. I think it's like Evoker and... Who else? I forgot who can dispel bleed, but yeah, any sort of D-bleed that you have in the group will help you immensely on this boss because of the Gash Frenzy. This ability hits for like 300k, and then it also keeps bleeding for like 150k. And here we took like too long to deal with the thing, and then we had Gash Frenzy. And I kind of preemptively tossed Radiance to just kind of have like the healing rolling instantly, and luckily I did manage to top everybody up on time, so we actually kind of dealt with it, you know. Health pot also helps a lot here, by the way. You can just health pot. It doesn't matter how you get to above 90%, you just need to be above 90% for the dot to go away. And the dot really is scary. And then whilst you're dealing with all that, you also have to interrupt these bolts. You also have to deal with his heals that he does, and you also have to deal with the fact that he jumps on someone. So like he'll pick a target and he'll jump on you, and just like hit you and deal damage, and there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to tank it, and hopefully you have enough defensives to survive. I'm not sure if it's lucky or unlucky, but these abilities do happen at the same time, so technically you could like wait Gash Frenzy, bait the jump on you, and then pop like some sort of invincibility or immunity or whatever you got available for you. And by doing that, you can kind of like mitigate two mechanics with one thing. And here you saw like I couldn't do anything. And I mean this priest, like he didn't press dispersion nor health pot. I guess he's just unaware of like how this boss works and how difficult it hits, how hard it hits, which is fair enough. I mean, you know, these are like new bosses and we're just starting out, so I'm not really mad, but I am happy that we managed to beat this boss even without lust, because I have failed on this boss a lot of times in the first week. This boss, guys, I'm telling you, this boss is a menace to society. It is incredibly hard, so you're just gonna have to get a feel for it. I will say though that with the 4 set, you definitely have like a lot more toppage potential, if that makes sense. Like your topping ability is way higher because you can just stack the procs of instant radiance, and then you can just like be like a radiance, and you're just kind of like everybody's kind of full. And if you cast 2 radiances and people aren't full, then I guess you go next. At that point, I think you just queue up the next dungeon. I'm kidding, but no, of course you can still do like some damage and stuff and hope that heals people, but you know, usually, I mean, currently radiances are like the biggest heal, so if after 2 radiances you haven't topped everybody up, you have a problem. Yeah. Man, I gotta say, I like this dungeon. Call me, maybe I'm crazy and delusional, but I'm kind of enjoying it, honestly. It's it's pretty fun. By the way, I don't like these packs here, but I agree that it's a good idea to get percentage here early, because these packs are way more easier than some later ones. And we'll talk about it when we get there. You guys will see like how we decided to do this dungeon. I do want to preface this by saying that we have actually kind of like, this route isn't obviously the most optimal. You should always like pull things that benefit your group the most, you know. I'll give you an example. Some pulls are absolutely demonic because multiple disease or poison dispels, but if your group has poison or disease dispel, you just get that for free, right? Like it's free pull for you. So, you know, it always comes down to just judging like what the danger is of the pull and how you can deal with it. What tools does your comp have? Of course, if you're playing with friends and stuff, it's much easier to kind of make a call of what's good and what's not. Because then everybody, you know, can kind of chime in and say what they can do and what they can bring. When you're playing with pugs, you never know, like, right? Like, this reminds me of like Temple of the Jade Serpent. A lot of times I would see like druids or shamans not pick like Deacers, and then I mean it's kind of GG, right? So I mean this dissipates at a higher level because just natural selection, right? Like people that know their shit usually end up in the higher dungeons than people that don't. That's just kind of how it works. But yeah. Hey, we talked about like who's gonna be eaten and when and why on the second boss. Another hard boss, guys. Gotta be careful. Most of these packs, by the way, they're not really that scary on Tyrannical, but on Fortified these packs do deal quite a bit of damage. So you do want to be careful. You want to deal with these trees and stuff. They will these ones will spawn these lashers, and they do stomp. And then they also have like a frontal,
summon totem,
which is called, actually I'm not sure what it's called. I hope they will cast it now so I can tell you. There's also this dot. I'm not actually 100% sure who does the dot. I'm just not sure. somebody knows in the comments, you can you know, say and hopefully help someone. But yeah, and also, I mean, Rotsinger, I don't like Rotsingers for a simple reason of, I mean, look at this annoying ass dot. Like, this is just so annoying. Like the minus haste one, it is dispellable though, so you can purge it, right? Like you can deal with it. It's not end of the world, but it is pretty annoying. In here we have more trees, and we also have this monstrous decay. As far as I know, this doesn't really do that much. Like the monstrous decay just kind of like does this like AoE damage, as far as I know. Once again, correct me if I'm wrong. And at 25% HP, it will go into like burst mode.
Burst.
Oh, it's actually less than 25, it's about 20 or something. But yeah, it goes into this burst mode, and then when it bursts, it spawns these decaying slimes. So it's pretty chill mob. Like, as I said, this dungeon, as long as you have good damage, decent healing, and know what to interrupt. I mean, I guess you could make the same argument for every dungeon, right? But interrupts are not my strongest suit because I don't have one, right? Like I'm playing priest, I just don't have an interrupt. So, oh, by the way, I mixed up trees. These are the trees that will stomp, and yeah, these it's different trees. I said this about the earlier trees, but I was wrong. It's these trees that will stomp, and they will also like spawn these lashers. So no, the other ones spawn lashers. Sorry, these ones stomp, and they do the breath, like the frontal, which can be interrupted. And honestly should be interrupted just because of, like, you know,
decaying roots.
Nothing else that's that high prior to interrupt. So better play it safe, right? Also keep in mind, like, this is once again a lot of these AoE situations are kind of rough for this when there's like burst AoE followed by more rot damage. This just tends to kind of struggle with these situations because like our way to deal with AoE damage is to use our radiance charges, and then obviously you can go into the whole ramp, right, where you schism, shadow word, covenant, into penance, into, you know, mind blast. We can weave in some holy spells there too to get that twilight equilibrium value. It just depends what you need and what the current situation on your shadow word pain is and all of that. However, I would say that currently with the 4 sets, our dot becomes a bit more stronger, and we also get that instant radiance charges, which, by the way, guys, are proccing really often, and they're really strong. It feels so good. Like, I did, like, because right now I have it, obviously this is the first week of the time, you know, that I did this video, but I am uploading this video like in the 2nd week, and I have 4 set, and it's absolutely crazy good, and
necrotic breath.
It's really fun to play with. And one thing that I'm sad about is that I just know I will miss it when it's gone. I will be so sad when it's not here anymore. But yeah, basically, as I said, just gotta be careful with this. You need to plan your resources. You don't want to throw radiances just like whenever. They are very valuable resource for us, and really crucial for our AoE heals. Just basically like a crucial spell, pretty much. Here I said, like, focus ads, you know. This boss is pretty simple. I'll try to kind of like explain it. Of course, I'm also still learning and stuff, but I feel like I have a general concept and idea of how these bosses work. So basically, this boss is obviously, besides like dodging these obvious abilities like swirlies, you will basically summon these slimes. And these slimes are on their own, they're not super dangerous, but what they tend to do is they will cast, and if those casts go through, at least on Tyrannical, I can tell you that that's pretty much like almost guaranteed that, because they cast at the same time. So ideally, you just have enough AoE CC plus damage to deal with them quickly before they cast anything. But if they do have to cast, I would say like even interrupts will help just to kind of like desync them and make like give you time to top people up. It's just a spooky situations. It's easy. The best thing to do is to just kind of like focus ads and not worry about them. And then I guess the second ability that a lot of people are kind of like scared of, which is a pretty simple ability honestly, is the one where you get eaten. So basically when he does the grasping vines, he will pull every single member in the fight to him. And what you want to do is somebody has to be eaten or he goes like super mega giga mode. You want to rotate because the person that's eaten first time will have a debuff that will increase damage by a lot from being eaten. So ideally you have one of the DPSers, whoever feels like they could be like the tanky ones with a good defensive or a good external, and they tank it instead of you. So pretty much like anyone with paints up or I guess warriors use die by the sword or something like that, and you know, just like big defensives. I personally believe that like the spell doesn't hit that hard, like you can do it almost on anyone. It's just important to make that rotation, like who's gonna go first, who isn't, and stuff like that. You don't wanna like waste, you know, you don't wanna waste anyone that you don't have to. I actually think the meta might be that healer gets eaten, but I've tried it once and it was okay. So it might be the play. It might be the play. It's the smallest DPS loss, so. Oh yeah, by the way, this mob is extremely dangerous. So what he does is he will like he spins. That's one ability, and second one is like he will just target someone, and he just like does this like breath, and it hits really hard, the breath, and it's insane.
Stink breath.
And also there's this spin, and it's just, both are just absolutely awful. And here, by the way, I'm not sure why we didn't get the shortcut. I was under the impression that when you beat the tree boss, you get a shortcut. But I guess I was wrong. I don't know, maybe somebody knows. If you know, let me know in comments why the shortcut didn't activate. Did we miss something, or did we take like a wrong path or something? Who knows? But yeah, this dungeon is annoying when you have to run all the way back. It's a really far release point. I guess, you know, I also didn't have to release. We have Priest, but as I said, I did think that there was like a shortcut. Like, I remember spawning in some cave once you beat the second boss. Like, there's a cave next to him and you just spawn there, but it is possible that we just didn't clear like the mob that unlocks that or something like that. Luckily, this priest was smart, so he said come for grip, and then he gripped me from here, so that was like a really cool play from him. I like that a lot. That was really smart. And basically here, these packs are absolutely demonic. If you don't have a poison dispel, don't even bother trying to think about going there. Under any circumstances, it is unhealable without poison dispel. So just like, if you have poison dispel, try it out if you like it. I personally would recommend just skipping that part. And since we got so much percentage earlier in the run, we're pretty much like already at 100%. Even though, I mean, I say already, like we're almost done with the dungeon. Like, it's not that crazy. But yeah, you will see later why it's potentially good to not do as much percent. And I'll talk about it once we get there. But these three, they pretty much don't do that much. So we just pull them all together to save some time. Here's like a great place to use some big abilities. I'm actually surprised I'm holding on to Shadowfiend this long. I guess maybe I didn't notice that it's back or something, because I feel like this was like a perfect place to use Shadowfiend. Maybe I'm just waiting for like the boss to be alone or something. I don't know, but yeah, it's a great time for Shadowfiend. Like a pack pull plus boss pull, just a nice little extra burst heal from the Shadowfiend. I mean, it's not really burst heal, it's more like sustained heal, but yeah. So here, I mean, this boss is extremely simple. There's two things that are very important. First of all, you do not let this hyena hit you. So they will target somebody, they will basically fixate on you, they're immune to like taunts and stuff. However, they're not immune to CC, so feel free to CC them, and then you can deal with them. And the boss, he has like a tank buster. I'm not sure what the tank buster is called, but he does hit tank pretty hard. Maybe it's just the basic attacks from him. But yeah, he'll do like a mid toss, and that means that all the hyenas and all his pets will go on you. And then these traps, you kind of want to bait them in a way that, like, there's a lot of ways to do this, right? It all depends, like, whether you're melee heavy or range heavy. But ideally, you just bait hyenas into the traps to the best of your abilities, and just deal with them like that. They will be stuck in the traps. But once again, I don't want to say, like, the hard part about this fight is you have to constantly keep interrupting. If you don't interrupt, when he does this Master's Call, the hyenas, they go berserk. They have like speed and attack speed, like they go super fast, and they're not CCable anymore, including the traps. So you just don't have a way to deal with them. Like, the person that they're gonna fixate on is gonna die, and then the next person that they fixate is gonna die. And it's just like really scary. Definitely make sure you're interrupting. Like, your interrupts need to be on point here. I think you can survive it for sure if you kite well enough. Like, they only go immune for like 5, 6, 7 seconds, something like that. But usually that's enough for them to kill someone. So basically, one missed interrupt means one death, almost guaranteed, depending on the situation. Maybe not guaranteed, but as I said, like, it's really important. Just interrupt it. I mean, no global is worth like one party member dying. Like, I always try to explain that, like, no global in the game has as much value as like one of your party members alive. And here, by the way, with these guys, I actually stood like completely wrong. So these guys have like a frontal bite, which you definitely want to dodge. And here we wanted to skip everyone, and I do think that with Mindsuit we could have, but I guess Tank just lost a little bit of patience and he just went to pull, and then the patrol joined, and the whole thing just kind of like escalated, and it's fine. I mean, you know, happens. We dealt with it, but I do want to say that, like, for this reason, I actually don't recommend getting 100% before this point, because I do think that, like, I mean, I feel like these are skippable, but not easily. Like, I don't think like your average bug group is gonna be like careful enough with steps, and they're just gonna end up ninja pulling and all of that. So it's just potentially better to make like an easier route where you don't have to skip as much, and you just kind of like clear pack by pack in a safe manner, whatever you deem to be, you know, safe. And here again, unnecessary pull because these weren't mind suited. I'm assuming that both me and Priest mind suited these two, and therefore we didn't have it for this one. But all of these can be mind suited, which just means that you can just kind of like pass through all of them safely. And once again, this guy also bites. So see this bloody bite? That's kind of like a small AoE frontal, and it bites like everyone in front of him. And it leaves like a tiny dot, I believe, and it deals quite a bit of damage. So probably worthy of not being in front of him. See all of these mind suitable, and then I think we kill these because we didn't want to risk running into them, I believe. Or was it the Rot Hexer that we didn't want to risk? I remember we killed something. Yeah, it was Rot Hexer, yeah. So yeah, apparently like this guy will sometimes walk so close that you just pull it while you're fighting. So I guess he kind of prevents you from clearing start and then just coming here. And then we also somehow pulled more. So I mean, this whole run was kind of like a ninja pulling disaster, but it was overall a pretty smooth run. But if you guys remember, like way back on the start, we misplayed Lust. We also lost 2 people on the first boss. Like, everything was kind of going against us, but we still kind of managed to pull through, and that feels good, you know. I really enjoy doing keys when things aren't perfect, but... Okay, so I mostly enjoy when things are perfect, but of course everybody does. Like, it's my second favorite is when things aren't perfect, but we make it work. Like, it feels so good, you know. It's like a gamer moment when you're like... failing this and that, and then you're just like
Empowered.
Okay, we can fix it. We're good enough, you know. I like that. It feels good.
Choking Rod Cloud.
And here I'm actually not sure if PI maybe would have been better on Hunter for single target. I'm not entirely sure, but
Totem.
Warrior gets quite a bit. Like Fury Warrior gets a decent amount. Arms also has good scaling with haste. So both Warrior specs are pretty good PI targets as far as I know. As far as I know, at least.
Strike.
And then this boss, guys, I mean, I think this boss was so like notorious for its difficulty that everybody knows how to play him at this point. They also had to nerf him multiple times, but basically there's two things you want to worry about here. So first of all, he will spawn obviously this cloud plus totem combo. So you have to dodge the big cloud. Every second you sped into it, you get like a big dot, which also reduces your damage, and it also keeps ticking you for damage. So that's basically a no-go. Like you should never, ever, ever get a stack of that, ever. And there's like apparently a cheese where if you stand on one of these like rocks on the far left side or right side, depending on which side you look at it, like the one where the tank is right now, like if you climb on these rocks, apparently the cloud can never hit you, but I tried it and it didn't really work out properly. The cloud kind of like swerved into me. I also managed to dodge it once, but what happened is we had like 3 ranged and then we all got killed by the king strength. So I would suggest not to do that. Maybe on one person, if they're confident they know what they're doing, but I wouldn't. I don't think it's necessary. And then all you want to do is like kill the totem, because every time the totem finishes its cast, it gives everybody a dot that reduces your damage, and it also hurts you quite a bit. So it's a very tight tuning at the moment. You really have to swap and kill the totem instantly. You need to be at the totem before it even spawns, pretty much. And luckily you have enough time to do that, so no excuses. And the second thing that you need to be ready as a healer is for this. So this heal hits pretty hard, and it's very important to have healing ready for that and top everybody up. They will hit for like 300, 400k on this key level. And he will cast that ability every time he gets 100 energy. So you can see like on the unit frame on the right side, right above my details, you can see there's my target unit frame. And he has this energy that's like filling up constantly underneath him. And once he gets to 100k, depending on the spell queue, he sometimes casts it instantly, sometimes he will cast something else. But he will usually just cast it, and it's a lot of damage on everyone. So make sure everybody's stopped and everybody has healing, and you have some healing to do there. Alright guys, that was Brackenhide 20, week 1. Pretty fun stuff. Really enjoyed doing the dungeon. Hope the commentary was helpful. You know, if you're struggling with this key or something, feel free to ask me in the comments, or even if you see I'm doing something wrong, feel free to recommend some changes and stuff. I always love feedback. I always love knowing what you guys think of the videos. So thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you guys supporting the channel. If you want to provide, you know, further support and stuff, feel free to like the video if you like it, subscribe if you're feeling extra frisky, and also comment and let me know what you think. Much love guys, hope to see you on the next video. Also be on the lookout for the comprehensive disc guide coming hopefully this week. Much love, bye bye, see you on the next video.